Hello everyone and welcome back to Alternative Apex. We're here in Miami for round 4 of the 2022 Formula 1 season. This is the circuit we'll be racing around, 19 corners, 3.3 miles, 5.4 kilometers long, with 3 DRS zones to add all of the action that we could ever desire from this race. It's the first ever edition of this Grand Prix, so lots of things that we don't really know what will happen. There's lots of questions that we may have going to this race. But let's get the first question answered, which is, of course, what is the starting grid? On the front row, we have Charles Leclerc on pole position, with Lewis Hamilton alongside him on the front row, after a wet to dry qualifying session. Then it's Verstappen and Sainz line up on the second row, with Sergio Perez and George Russell completing the top 6. Then there's Guan Yu Zhou at a great qualifying in 7th ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, with Esteban Ocon in 9th and Daniel Ricciardo in 10th. Just outside the top 10 we have Yuki Tsunoda and Sebastian Vettel, with Pierre Gasly and Mick Schumacher following them. Then it's Lando Norris and Kevin Magnussen, with Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll behind him. Then it is Fernando Alonso and Nico Hülkenberg who starts 20th after a 10-place grid penalty, meaning that despite his best qualifying effort of the season so far, he will still be starting way down the field. Williams lock out the back row of the grid. Now it's time to go down to the actual grid to see everyone preparing for today's race. Whilst yesterday's qualifying session did have quite a bit of weather involvement causing a slightly mixed up grid, today's race is expected to be bone dry. Whilst there is quite an overcast sky, there is no rain that is expected to fall. There on the bottom left you could briefly just see the championship standings. Carlos Sainz goes into this race as the championship leader with 8 points over the rest of the field. I believe Sergio Perez is the next up in second. There is our championship leader starting 4th today. Expecting a tougher race, but that Ferrari did look very quick throughout practice, so expect him and his teammate to be the front runners today. Cars now pulling away off the grid. Lewis Hamilton there with a shock P2, a shock front row qualifying. They've shown great improvement throughout the season. Last race we saw them making a great recovery with Lewis Hamilton charging up from the back of the grid up into the points. If you missed that race, please do go check it out because it was quite an exciting one. But here we now see the drivers taking to the formation lap. Porsche were one of the stars of qualifying as well, with both cars getting to Q3. However, sadly, Hülkenberg with a grid penalty means that he will be starting down in 20th. Quite disappointing for the Porsche team, but sadly that is how it is. But exciting still to see how Pascal Wehrlein will manage, as he once again qualifies well here after his strong race last time out. However, Porsche as a team didn't look quite as good in practice as they did in Imola, so I think points are still not going to be an easy task for them today. However, they, I'm sure, are going to get their best go, as you see Pascal Wehrlein sliding into his grid spot there with a bit of style, as he parks up his Porsche on the grid, as all the cars now find their position on the grid, ready for today's race. The final few cars just getting to position now, and I'm sure all of them ready and excited for the first ever Miami Grand Prix. The cars are all in position now, and the lights are coming on. 5 red lights. And we are racing in Miami. It's a good start there from Charles Leclerc, but Lewis Hamilton looks like he's got away well as he's going to go down to the inside. Oh, Charles Leclerc, they're going to be side by side. Hamilton takes the lead, he goes wide. Carlos Sainz going to switch underneath both of them. Can he try and make the move? No. Charles Leclerc gets down his elbows and defends the lead. Lewis Hamilton drops to second. Carlos Sainz does still gain 1 position off the start, but is only going to be third here after looking like a potential leader as they came out of the first couple of corners there. As now they dive into the S section for the first time today. The field already finding themselves single file through here. You do not want to be going side by side through this part of the racetrack. You will, well, probably find yourself with a bit less carbon fibre than when you started it. As now we see battles at the end of the first lap. Mick Schumacher got a massive dive bomb there down the inside of 2 cars. That was Wehrlein and Ricciardo who's dive bombed there. Can he make the move stick? There was going to be side by side coming out of the final corner through this little S section, completely flat, which allows these drivers to have some great racing through here. Now down towards turn 1. How's it going to go? Daniel Ricciardo on the inside, Mick Schumacher trying to fight this one off from the outside. Doesn't look like he's quite going to be able to do it, or is he? Great bit of racing here as he does make the move stick. And now that's Wehrlein looking at Ricciardo, trying to make a move on the McLaren driver, trying to catch him whilst he's perhaps a little bit more vulnerable. So Ricciardo now going to stay side by side. That's a brave one to stay wheel to wheel through this part of the lap. But Wehrlein uses the grip on the outside line there. Perhaps weren't expecting as much grip as that, but he does hold onto the position. But Ricciardo looks a little bit quicker at the moment as he will now begin to pressure the Porsche driver later into the race. We do have yellow flags there. Oh, that's a slow car. That's Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin there. A team yet to score points this year. And Vettel, who has probably been their top driver so far this season, not doing too great as he finds himself out of this race. Now we look to a battle on lap 5 of the race. It is Carlos Sainz versus Lewis Hamilton. That Mercedes did a great job to qualify up in second position. However, you can see there its race pace isn't quite as good as there. It's a mistake from Lewis Hamilton. He's gone wide in the final corner. Annoyingly, the camera's really bad angle there, and we haven't actually had a good chance of seeing it, but he has had some sort of mistake or problem through the final corner, which has allowed Carlos Sainz up into second place, Verstappen up into third. Hamilton, can he stop the bleeding? Can he hold on to P4 here, or is Sergio Perez going to get side by side with him? He is indeed, but he can't quite make the move stick. As Russell now joins this fight over fourth position, the top three have used this as a chance to pull a little bit ahead. Now let's have a look at the replay here. On board with Lewis Hamilton into the final corner. What is going to happen? You've got Sainz on the inside. Oh, and he just locks up the inside front into that hairpin. And you can see just so hard to get the car rotated back out of the corner, and that allows Perez to get side by side and allows both Sainz and Verstappen to get easily clear ahead of the Mercedes driver. Speaking of Sainz and Verstappen, we now have a battle for second position. Is Verstappen going to send it? No, he's going to stay behind. Oh, but Sainz goes deep. That's a big mistake there from Carlos Sainz, who's going to drop down into third position like Hamilton did just a few laps ago. He now drops down into third place, as we now see once more Sergio Perez versus Lewis Hamilton. This looks like it could be quite an exciting battle. Hamilton, I think he knows he hasn't quite got the pace in that Mercedes to fight this one off, and Perez does go through. But does he go deep? Yes, he does. Perez goes deep. He's going to miss the corner, and again, these lockups becoming quite a common thing apparently in this race. Maybe there's something going on the track, or the temperatures of the tyres, or something's going on there to cause all these mistakes, surely. As just a little bit later, we're going to see Perez versus Hamilton once again. Down the inside goes Sergio Perez. That's not the line you want for the next corner, though. You can see Hamilton now got the inside line for this long right-hander. This should in theory give Hamilton track position, and it does. So that's Hamilton back up into fourth position there. Perez drops down to fifth. He's got paddles. Further down in order, Ricciardo has repassed Pascal Wehrlein as they make their way through this stadium-like section through here now. The Porsche, though, right on the back of the McLaren. Look at it, almost bumping him through that part of the lap. The very slow speed corner means that it's a strange part of the track to drive around, as yeah, it's a very tight and slow speed section, so you can't really do much if you've got a bit of pace over the other cars around you through there, so Wehrlein has to stay behind. But now look, it's going to be once more another battle here. So that is, I believe that's Pierre Gasly making the move on Pascal Wehrlein, but he's going to also try and do what Schumacher did and pass two cars in one move. Ricciardo and Wehrlein once again under pressure here from a car dive bombing that final corner. Can Gasly pull off the same move Schumacher did? Oh, they're free wide now. They got a little bit wide out of the final corner, and that allowed Wehrlein back into the fight. But Gasly fights on here. Can he go all the way around? So no, Wehrlein's going to make a free way into turn one, down the inside of the first corner now. Pascal Wehrlein in the Porsche will make the move back up into 11th place. Ricciardo and Gasly going to stay side by side. Gasly looking like he's got the position there, but on the outside line, a little bit less grip out there. That should allow Ricciardo to get back in it, but on this occasion, no. As we now got battling further down the order, that is Lando Norris and Kevin Magnussen going side by side in the air section here. That's going to be a tough one to hold out for Lando Norris, as you see, you get a little bit of a wiggle there, and that's now going to put him under pressure from Fernando Alonso, who's going to pass him as well, and now that's Valtteri Bottas as well getting involved. So many drivers passing at this chance. As soon as you get side by side around here, you keep falling down the order. There's nothing you can do. It's so hard to fight back onto the racing line, because once you get wide, you get those marbles on your tyres, and you just lose all grip, and that allows everyone to press you. As we now see Lando Norris dropping down into 17th place now, up from, I believe, 15th, which is where he was before that little incident. As now, later on in the race, we're going to see Gasly versus Wehrlein again. This time, Gasly hasn't got a car in front of him to dive bomb as well, so it's going to be a fairly simple move for the Frenchman getting up ahead of the Porsche. On this occasion, it does not look like Wehrlein's going to be able to fight back. That Porsche doesn't look like it quite has the pace that it perhaps qualified with, as we now see Carlos Sainz versus Max Verstappen once more in this race. Sainz to the outside of the final corner. Let's see, can he pull this move off? He locked up earlier in the race around here, so I imagine he's not too confident on the brakes in that corner. See a little bit of wheel banging as they make their way through there now, through the flat-out S's to finish the lap. Let's see, Carlos Sainz, he's got the track position now ahead of the Red Bull, but it looks like Verstappen wants to fight this one back. On this occasion, though, he's not quite going to be able to do it. I don't think, no, he isn't. Sasta drop in behind there. As now at the same time, we had another battle between Sergio Perez and I believe this is Lewis Hamilton once more. Well, this isn't new. Perez versus Hamilton for the third time at least in this race. They're going to be side by side through this quite cool part of the racetrack. Flat out S's, meaning that you're sort of on the limit of grip, but you're still able to really race hard. And now we see them side by side to turn one, and Perez once more is going to make the move. Can he make the corner this time? Yes, he can. And up into fourth position goes the Red Bull driver. Now he's got a lap to try and scurry away into the distance, but I'm sure Hamilton won't want to let him do that, and he isn't going to let him do that. Down the inside of the final corner, Lewis Hamilton using DRS to the best of his abilities. Down he goes. Oh, but he goes a little bit deep there. A little bit of contact. That's such a tight final corner. Does not look like there's any grip at all through there. Oh, but they're coming to the pits there. And they're banging wheels as Hamilton wanted to pit. Perez didn't. He didn't realise that was going to happen. He got barged down the pit lane. He then had to brake to back out of it and loses a lot of time there. There's a lot of cars coming into pit lane. Charles Leclerc has pitted. So has Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton from this lead group. But Leclerc with a good quick pit stop, and he's going to come out in or just about clean air there as the Alpine going to have a chance at passing the Ferrari. That's Ocon now, who's yet to pit behind him, but not quite able to there. As George Russell now a lap later will come into the pits. Now that's going to be interesting to see. Russell was sort of part of that freeway fight for fourth. Where's he going to come out relative to Hamilton and Perez, because those two had that little scuffle on the way into the pit lane. Russell, of course, he's going to have to do an extra lap on these worn tyres, which isn't especially great, but let's see. Coming out of the pit lane now, where will he be? He's going to be ahead, crucially, of his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Russell now up into fourth place in this race. He has capitalised on the issues that his teammate and Perez had, and now he is up into fourth position. Great little bit of opportunistic driving from George Russell to survive that little incident. Oh, and now from 10th position, from a points-paying position, Schumacher's engine has blown. The Ferrari engine in the back of the Haas has expired there. As now he tries to just get out of the way of people through the first corner, and he's pulling off the side of the road. Yellow flag's there, but that will remain a local yellow, as we will stay under green flag racing. No need for a safety car involvement yet in this race, as now we once again see battling here for 5th position now. It's Perez versus Hamilton times... I don't know how many times we've seen this battle now in this race. So many times I've lost count, as now Perez back ahead of Lewis Hamilton going through the slow-speed section. And now Perez really using the grip he has in that Red Bull finally seems to be showing the pace that that car has, as he's now challenging George Russell for 4th position. Going to try and go to the outside of the final corner here. We're getting later and later into this race now, so Perez really doesn't have any more to fight for up the road. Looks like those in the battle for second are too far away from him. But he certainly can still get into this 4th position, so that has to be his focus for the rest of this race. Using DRS, he will be up into 4th position now, and that is hopefully his move done for him. But we've seen so far in this race that it can all change so quickly. And let's see, will it change? No, it looks like Perez is going to pull away as the two Mercedes are going to give him the chance to, with Lewis Hamilton racing George Russell into the final corner. A little bit of wheel bang in the braking zone there as they're going to bang wheels again at the apex of the corner. Hard racing here in the streets of Miami. They're going to be wheel to wheel. And it is George Russell ahead for now, but Hamilton has got the run as they come out of the final corner. Will he go to the inside? Will he go to the outside? Looks like he's going to go to the outside of turn 1. That's a bold move. He can pull this one off. Going to try and keep his nose there. But Russell gives him the space. You know, between teammates, you really can't make any aggressive moves. Well, we saw Hamilton do that in Jeddah, but perhaps Russell, the new driver within that team, doesn't want to take risks like that racing his teammate. And that will allow Hamilton to pass him up into 5th position there for the Briton. Now we see battling Carlos Sainz versus Verstappen, these two battling over 2nd place. Championship leader Carlos Sainz here really needs to limit the damage because Charles Leclerc's got a huge lead out front. That win is just not going to be possible for him today. However, he needs to try and still get as many points as he can, just like Perez's situation at the moment. It's about maximising the races you have that come your way. Because whilst the win definitely was going to be possible today, Carlos Sainz still can get a 2nd position here today, as he is quite close to that position and is in the DRS and is going to go down the inside of Max Verstappen here into the stadium section. Oh, but he goes a little bit deep. That's going to allow Verstappen the chance to fight back, and Verstappen will maintain 2nd position for now though, because we've clearly seen today that racing, just like Jeddah, in the sense that you can get side by side easily but can't quite complete the move easily. As now we can see turn 1, that's a mistake. Verstappen goes deep, another mistake from one of the drivers in this race, another lock-up in this race, as Verstappen misses the apex of turn 1 and allows Carlos Sainz up into 2nd position there. Will that give the Ferrari the chance to stretch its legs and pull away? It looks like it may well do just that now. See, battling further down the order, we've got Pascal Wehrlein versus Daniel Ricciardo here going to the S section. That's a bold place to make the move from Ricciardo on this occasion. Can't quite make it stick, and again another driver that gets out on the marbles and is going to lose another position. Lando Norris has charged his way back up into 13th here after the issues he had earlier on. Now looks like he is in position to perhaps even get up into P12 here, as Wehrlein is clearly under a lot of pressure in the Porsche. His teammates in this train as well, so clearly maybe it's a Wehrlein issue like we saw in Bahrain, but again, strange situation here as the McLaren all over the back of the Porsche as they dive onto the brakes here as they enter this stadium section part of the lap around the outside. Looks like they're going to pull off a little bit of contact there. The Porsche very sideways there of Wehrlein. Looks like maybe a little bit of rubbing between those two. A bit more than wheel banging there. But as Norris up into 12th position in this race. And Wehrlein, again, you can see that Porsche struggling for grip. Not having the time of its life here today. But someone who is having the time of their life is Charles Leclerc, who comes through the final couple of corners now. And he's going to win the first ever Miami Grand Prix in dominant fashion there. 14 seconds at the flag. What a drive by the Monegascers. He finally gets an engine that can finish the race, and that's what happens when he does. That is simply outstanding there for him. As it's a Ferrari 1-2 today, Carlos Sainz limits the damage done and takes second place ahead of Max Verstappen in third, who will complete the podium here today. And it's Sergio Perez in fourth, with Lewis Hamilton taking fifth place there. Looks like he had quite a bit more pace than Russell at the end there, as Russell drops almost 6 seconds behind his teammate, but will still take a 6th place finish for Mercedes, maximising what looked like was possible for that team today. Then, best of the rest, sort of in a world of his own, Esteban Ocon. Looks like that Alpine again, quicker than most of the midfield, but not quite a top car yet, is going to be 7th today. And then Yuki Tsunoda is looking like he's going to be finishing 8th in the race today as he makes his way through the final couple of corners. Indeed he will, as Guan Yu Zhou will take 9th position, with Fernando Alonso taking the final points-paying position from today's race. Pierre Gasly and Lando Norris the first two to miss out, and there's battling all the way to the line as Ricciardo will get ahead of Hülkenberg, and their line drops all the way down to 15th in the end of this race. So again, some real questions going on for the German manufacturer, as they clearly have some issues that they need to iron out if they want to try and make their way up the grid in Formula 1. But here is your winner now, Charles Leclerc, celebrating on top of his car with his hands in the air. Great drive today, dominant drive today. No one could come close to him, other than the very first lap when Hamilton raced him quite hard, and so did Carlos Sainz. But once he fended off that challenge, there was really nothing that could stop him today. As now he makes his way out towards the podium. I'm sure a very proud racing driver there. And I mean, so he should be. It's a brilliant drive, finishing in, well, as I said, dominant fashion. And again, just shows that when he has an engine that can complete the race, he can put in an outstanding performance that is really championship worthy. So I look forward to seeing how this goes throughout the season. Next up is his home race in Monaco, which, let's face it, he isn't known for having great luck around there. But, I mean, if he can take this car to Monaco and take another win, it really would be a statement for the rest of the season that Leclerc is here to fight for wins, and he is here to fight for the championship, because we've seen so far this season he has been on another level. So here is your full results for today's race. Charles Leclerc does take the win with fastest lap. Carlos Sainz making it a Ferrari 1-2 out of the 2 Red Bulls and then the 2 Mercedes cars, with the Alpine of Ocon in a world of his own there in 7th position, with Tsunoda in 8th, Zhou Guanyu in 9th, and Fernando Alonso in 10th, rounding out the point-paying positions there with a very strong drive after starting 19th place on the grid there. So that Alpine is clearly a very quick car. Now we turn over to the Drivers' Championship standings here. Carlos Sainz with a 14-point championship lead now, ahead of Sergio Perez. Leclerc goes from 30 points off to only 22 points off now, so he is very much in this fight as well. Verstappen 28 points off there as well. Then you've got the 2 Mercedes cars of Hamilton and Russell. They've shown flashes of performance, of course, Jeddah springs to mind, but just not consistently enough to really be in the championship fight at this stage of the season. It's Ocon in 7th, with Bottas putting a strong season so far in 8th, Alonso in 9th, and Nico Hülkenberg in the Porsche up in 10th position, with the 2 Haas cars just in 11th and 12th position. So a lot of stand-up performances in the midfield so far this season, and I really look forward to not only how the Drivers' Championship battle plays out, but also how this midfield battle plays out, because there's lots of really strong contenders there for some quite high positions in this championship. Now we look over to the Constructors' Championship standings, where Ferrari have a 20-point lead over Red Bull after their 1-2 today, so strong performance from the Italian team, with Red Bull sitting there second, very much in this fight still, but not quite as strong as they perhaps would have wanted to be. They will have to find some more performance in that car if they want to continue taking the fight to Ferrari. Then is Mercedes in 3rd, Alpine 4th, Haas 5th, Alfa Romeo 6th, 7th is Porsche, as they've just been passed by Alfa Romeo, with AlphaTauri and McLaren 8th and 9th, with Aston Martin and Williams yet to score points so far this season. But that has been it for today's episode here in Alternative Apex. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was quite an exciting race, whilst the win probably wasn't as exciting as we would have hoped it to be. It was still an exciting battle throughout the positions lower down in the order, so make sure to tune in again for the next race, which will be the Monaco Grand Prix. Perhaps you're expecting that one to not be quite as exciting, but I do believe that it is going to be quite an exciting race. Admittedly, I have no idea whether it'll be exciting or not, but I just have a feeling it may well be, so make sure to tune in for the next race up. Also, some mildly exciting news for some of the people interested in it. For Alternative Apex, we're also going to be bringing out some other sort of Porsche Motorsport in F1 content coming soon, where we'll have, it won't be a regular thing, not a series like we have here. However, it will be some more sort of along a similar lines of sort of what if situations. For example, this is very much what if Porsche joined F1, and some other sort of things along that line, so they very much fit the brand, but also just to branch out in the content, and also so that you're not just bombarded with Porsche Motorsport and F1. You can see some other stuff out there, perhaps sort of that will get your attention and sort of be interesting to see, that's a little less long-term into the future of seasons of racing before we see Porsche actually do something more competitive, because it's going to be quite a while before we see what Porsche can really do in Formula 1. This is only the first season and we're only, 4 races in. Some other sort of maybe one episode, sort of one-off things, and maybe some mini-series as well that could add to the overall alternative Apex experience. So I hope you're all as excited as I am for that. Working on some of those at the moment. Got some ideas in my head, and if you've got any ideas, please feel free to let me know on Instagram at Jackson55F1. That's Jackson_55F1. So yeah, if you want to see any alternative Apex content or any other sort of other content, please do go over and follow me there. But that is it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.